Okay, so my last video, we just did how to get there, the quick and simple way. But a lot of you might be saying, hey, why are we adding and taking away zeros from these fractions and decimals? How does that work? Well, let me show you. So when we're doing fractions like 4 over 10, that's in the tenths place. In order to get it into the next place, the hundredths place, what we're just doing is multiplying by 10. So, in order to do that, just give me 1 second. Oops. There we go. So, when I do 4 times 10, I get 40. When I do 10 times 10, I get 100. So I just turned this into its hundredths form. But this is asking for it in decimal hundredths form. So I can now turn this into a decimal. My decimal for 40 over 100 would be 0.40. And I can turn it the other way. And remember, it's 0.40 because we just take that number on top and put it in the back. And there's no ones, so that becomes a 0. The decimal for this one is very similar. 4 over 10, the decimal is 0.4 because it doesn't have that 0 at the end. But that and that, same exact thing. Same exact thing. They are equivalent. Now, if I did 50, 0.050, and I wanted that in fraction tenths, first, I would need to make it into a fraction. So let's do that first. 0.50 in fraction form is 50 over 100. Perfect. But is this in fraction tenths? No, it is not. It is not in fraction tenths. It's in fraction hundredths because there's 100 at the bottom right there. So we need to change this into fraction tenths. Now, the only way to do that is to take away those zeros. But why are we taking away the zeros? Because we're actually dividing by 10 this time. We're doing the opposite. We're dividing by 10. And when we divide by 10, we just take away the 0 at the top and the 0 at the bottom. And it becomes 5 over 10. Now, did we answer the question in fraction tenths? Yes, we did, because now 5 over 10 is 5 tenths. It's the fraction version. And again, this and this equivalent. This and this equivalent. It means they're equal. So what you're going to do is you are now, while you are sitting here, you are going to find the fraction equivalent to, you're going to find the decimal equivalent to 80 over 100. And you're going to find that in decimal, tenth, can't spell tenths, form. So in decimal tenths form, find 80 over 100. Now I'd like to remind you, a decimal, not a fraction, and tenths is not shown here. This is hundredths. So your job is to find this number, but in tenths and in decimal form. Do that now. I will give you 30 seconds. And while you do that, I'll write one more problem. That should have been plenty of time. So here's what we're going to do. First, I know that I need it in tenths, and it's not in tenths there. So I'm going to change it. 80 over 100, and I can use my take away 0 rule. So I'm going to cross out the 0, becomes 8 over 10. And then I find out that I need to have it in decimal form. So how can I write this as a decimal? My decimal for 8 over 10 would be 0 because there's no whole, point because there's a fraction, 8 because there's only one number. So 80 over 10 is the same as 0.8. Now let's do one more. This one is asking for 0.5 in fraction hundredth form. All right, so first I need a fraction. I know that right off the bat. I need a fraction first. How do I write this in fraction form? I would write it as 5, because there's only the number 5 there, over 10, because it's in the tenths place. 5 over 10. Now, what would I do in order to make this fraction hundredth form? Because we're in the tenths. This is a tenth. Add a 0 at the top and a 0 at the bottom. Or multiply by 10. Your job is now to do the worksheet that I included at the bottom of the videos. It's on the Google Classroom. So go to the Google Classroom and do the worksheet that I included for you guys. See you later.